Welcome to my yoga room. This room deserves a special introduction before I dive into the details. In case you missed the first episode of the series, I want to remind you of its numerology as a 9 home, because this room, I feel, really is the embodiment of exactly that. A numerology 9 home is characterized by a spiritual atmosphere, emphasizing completion and transformation. The home encourages universal love, wisdom, insight, and transcendence, creating an environment that goes beyond the mundane and connects to higher truths. I can't wait to tell you the story behind this room because it holds such significance to my story. But first, let me explain the overall vibe that I was going for when designing this room. I wanted this space to have a modern base with a neutral color palette, and then layer it with a rich tapestry of patterns, textures, materials, metallics, and of course, spiritual symbolism, creating a sanctuary of worldly depth and sacred feel. So welcome to my yoga room. This might be my favorite room, but my bedroom is a close second. Now, I call this my yoga room, but really it's very multifunctional. This is basically my personal wellness retreat, where I come to beautify my body, mind, and soul. This is a piece of art I got on my trip to Japan. I replaced the switch plate with this really pretty, intricate brass plate. I added a fan to this room that has a really pretty modern design with the brass and the walnut blades. I found this carved wood mandala that I cut a hole in the center to use as a ceiling medallion to give it a more traditional look and add to the style of the space. Then over here, I've got all my metaphysical products. I've got my chimes. I've got my weights displayed on these sleek floating shelves. And then I've got this really pretty little cabinet to house all of my magical herbs and essential oils. And then, of course, my tarot decks and oracle cards. I love making these terrarium displays. Being a Leo moon, I like to connect with the fire element when I am setting intentions and meditating. I've got all of my crystals in this pretty glass display. I want to go through and label them all. And then, of course, my sage, Palo Santo, and incense for cleansing. And then I've got these plants, which they are fake because this room doesn't get good enough natural light, but I wanted to give a more grounded and earthy feel to the room. And then I've got this phoenix planter, which is actually the phoenix from the Harry Potter movies. But the phoenix is very symbolic for me, having such transformative energy with my Pluto in the first house. And I've got a lot of transformation gates in human design as well, especially this era of my life. It was a very transformative period. So I marked it by getting this planter. And then I've got my yoga bolsters that I got custom covers made for them. Since I love fabric so much, I would love to design and sell my own custom bolster collection. So I'm working to figure out how I can incorporate that into my boutique. So mark my words, eventually that will happen. And then I installed these pretty macrame curtains and the curtain rod just to give it some more texture and add to the style of the space. Oh, and I forgot to mention these shelf brackets. I found these on Etsy. They're from India. They're handmade, hand carved, really cool corbels that I used as shelf brackets to just make these basic wood shelves something more special. Got some more crystals, my Shiva sculpture, and the Buddha terrarium that I made, and then my books and singing bowls. The Buddha artwork at the top I got in Thailand, and that was my first solo international trip I ever took when I was 23. I mean, I was with a group, but I didn't know anyone personally, but it was an amazing experience, and I would love to go back. And then this beautiful shagreen dresser from Restoration Hardware, which is just filled to the brim, but I'll show you. I have it organized really nice, like Marie Kondo style. But I love clothes, and so I just, this home is lacking storage space. I have to admit that is the one downside to this home, but it's enough for my needs as a single person living in this condo. But I told you there would be dirty laundry. It's actually not dirty, it's clean. I just need to fold it and put it away. And I did put in these closet systems that I designed. I've got pretty much all of my clothes in this room, and then my shoes in my bedroom closet. But I actually have the litter box tucked away in here too, with a air filter so that I can crack the door and the cats can get in here, but Skylar doesn't get at it. And then I've got this really pretty Turkish lantern that I found on Etsy. And a lot of the times you see the glass is all colorful and patterned. I got the simple white, and I have colored bulbs, the hue lights, that I can change and put on different settings, which is really cool. And then I've got my yoga gear over here. This macrame swing is the newest addition to the room. I really wanted to hang it from the ceiling, but I hired a handyman to help me install it, and we could not find the support in the ceiling for it, so now I just have a bunch of holes in the ceiling that I have to deal with, but unfortunately I couldn't mount it from the ceiling without it costing a whole bunch of money that wasn't really worth it. So I got the stand, and it is what it is. I got my swing like I wanted, and you know, it works. So then I got my vanity space. So this is kind of like very multifunctional. I work on this is like kind of my another workspace where I can set up as a desk. I got my tarot cards that I use more frequently over here, and my affirmations on the board. This is my favorite oracle deck, Magical Spirit Oracle. Oh my gosh, I love this deck so much. And then I've already spoke multiple times in different videos about how much I love my Crystal Magic Tarot deck. But then I've got my facial area over here. I've got my products, my cosmetics, my makeup. And then I got this really pretty, this is another from Pottery Barn Teen, Harry Potter, but I love this snake. You know, snakes represent healing and Kundalini energy. And then I have all of this, I have this cart that has all my products on here that I can move out of the way because I've got my full-length mirror behind it. But it's got storage for everything I need. And then I made these really pretty walnut containers for my clips that have these brass lotus flower knobs that I found from Anthropology. Yeah, so that's my yoga room. So let's get set up and chat about what it's like to have your midheaven at the Anaretic 29th degree in the sign of Cancer, which is also known as the Millionaire's degree. And I'll tell you a story about how I found this condo, which is actually really sweet. But I mean, this seems like the universe is sending me a pretty fucking clear sign, if you ask me. Literally. Apparently, I'm supposed to lead the public in some kind of way. I'm by no means an expert. So all I can really do is share this story and my process with you as I continue on my own holistic healing journey. Focus on my own self-development and share what I learned along the way. So that's my plan. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, follow along. I'd love to have more company and for us to do it together. So I hope I can find the people who see the value in my mission, because that's really why I'm doing all this. Honestly, I only care about the fame because it means that I have an opportunity to help more people. But I mean, it would also help my personality work for me instead of against me, because I'm not normal. And it's painful to try to be. So I'm now in my swing. This is the newest edition, and I just love like hanging out and just like swinging. It brings me back to like, makes me feel like a kid again. Oh, I just love it. But anyways, I put on the pretty lights. I set the mood, the tone a little bit more calmer in here. This is called Sunset Allure. It's one of the hue scenes options. Okay, so now this will explain to you more about why all of this is just so fucking intense. Okay, so I already told you a bit about the intensity that Pluto brings, right? Well, just after that Leo full moon we had, the Sun and Pluto came into a conjunction right on my 29th degree Capricorn IC angle. I'll talk about the IC a little later, but since we were talking about career, I want to talk about the MC, okay? Because that's on the same axis. It's just opposite the MC midheaven. It's at the cusp of your 10th house and represents your public image and career and life path. I've got a 29 degree Cancer MC. So Pluto and the Sun were at a conjunction opposite this point in my chart. Okay, in astrology, certain degrees within a sign are considered particularly potent or significant. And 29th degree, also known as the Anaretic or karmic degree, holds a special energy. The 29th degree represents a point of transition between two signs. It's considered a critical and sensitive degree, often carrying a sense of urgency and intensity. I don't know if you can tell, but I definitely feel like it's urgent that I create these videos. Like, it's hard to explain and it seems like ridiculous, but the amount of pressure I feel of like how important this is for whatever reason, like I don't even know what the reasoning is. It's just this like feeling like it's really important that I do this for whatever reason. And it seems, I know that seems ridiculous, but it's true. I mean, it makes sense now that I know what this degree means. But like planets or points placed at 29 degrees are thought to carry a sense of completion or culmination. It's believed that planets or points at the Anaretic degree may manifest more challenging or tense, as if the energy of that planet or point is under pressure to conclude or evolve. This can also often be a point of crisis or decision making. And there's a lot to this. Okay. It's believed by some that planets or points at this degree carry lessons from past lives and may point towards areas where growth and resolution are needed. So I'm not going to get too deep into this in this video, but in evolutionary astrology, Pluto is a key planet because it is linked to your soul and your soul's journey for this lifetime. And if it squares planets or points, that's a huge flag. It means that there's some sort of skipped step from a past life associated with whatever planet or point that is. And Pluto squares my nodes, the karmic points of destiny. And the south node is my skipped step, which is next to my Leo moon in my 10th house. So that's the point of resolution. You look to the sign's ruler that it's in, which is the sun. You know, Leo's ruler is the sun. So then you go to your sun, which is in Capricorn for me, and it's in the 3rd house. And so the 3rd house is really important if it wasn't already noticeable by having a stellium of planets in that house, is another like huge flag of like high importance in your chart. If you have a stellium, like you need to focus on that area. I mean, there's really no way around it because like, yeah, there's so much I can get into about my 3rd house too. And like, there's a lot there. That could be like its own video. Obviously there's like a stellium there, but like the significance of that house and what it like has put me through, it's been a lot. So that's going to be, I'm going to make a separate video about like my Pluto transits and talk about, you know, because Pluto's finishing up Capricorn this year and finally I'll be done. But like it went through all of those planets. Actually, I won't be done because now it's on my Venus and opposite my moon. But anyway, there was a lot of trauma with it going through that house for me. So I think it could be cathartic for me and maybe helpful for others who can relate, and might be healing for others to hear the story. We'll see. But anyway, because the Anaretic degree expresses the energy involved more intensely, this placement is known to be more sensitive to transits or progressions involving that degree that can bring about significant life changes or events. Pluto just transited this angle in my chart, which is the planet that brings transformation by itself, let alone it being at the 29th degree of an angle in my chart. The 29th degree is often seen as a point where change is both necessary and imminent. It may encourage individuals to take action and address issues associated with the planet or point and the sign involved, which is why it is also associated with crisis, especially if you don't heed the calls. Thankfully, I'm super intuitive, and although life has been, a lot of changes have happened for me, and not all in a way that I would have preferred, but I think it could have been a lot worse if I wasn't so receptive of change and yeah. But anyway, I'll tell you more about that later. Now, before I learned all of that, I was excited because when it's specifically 29 degrees Cancer, well, that is referred to as the Millionaire's degree. This is due to the association to the sign Cancer and real estate. Now, my driving force in life for as long as I can remember, like a young child who grew up obsessed with the show Trading Spaces, I always wanted to flip houses, but I have yet to establish the funds necessary to do that. Now, I probably technically could have, but as you are beginning to gather, owning and decorating my own home was my top priority. So that's my midheaven placement. So this is believed to bring a culmination of experiences and a sense of destiny in the public sphere. When your MC is at 29 degrees Cancer, it suggests a life path filled with opportunities for success and recognition. It symbolizes that your journey involves reaching the pinnacle of your chosen path, and your public life may be marked by notable achievements. So no pressure, right? Sometimes I wonder if I would have been better off if I didn't know this, if I didn't see my chart and now know that I should be doing this. Now it just adds pressure, right? But at the same time, it really, I think the validation, no, I take that back. Any downside of knowing your astrology is far outweighed by all the positives that come with it and the healing that comes with it. It is such a helpful tool. I can't say it enough. I really, truly believe it. And it's done such good things for me. Okay, now there's obviously the association to Cancer, the home, and my career as an interior designer, which, by the way, comes extremely naturally to me without technically a formal education in interior design specifically. But it's sitting in my 9th house. And the 9th house is ruled by Jupiter and the sign Sagittarius. And Jupiter is also in my 9th house and is actually exalted in the sign Cancer. Okay, so let's back up a bit. So in numerology, 9 is often seen as the number of completion. Living in a home with this vibration may signify that it's a place where cycles end and transformation takes place. It could be a home where individuals undergo significant personal growth. It often involves letting go of the old to welcome in the new. So this era of my life began in 2020 when my ex-husband and I decided to get a divorce. It was always a dream of mine since before I met him to start a YouTube channel teaching yoga. Yes, both dreams were felt very strongly. I'm multi-passionate, what can I say? I thought real estate to pay my bills and YouTube yoga for fun. Okay, but get this. At the time I was house hunting, I had no good reason for this because I was barely practicing, but I was adamant that one of my must-haves for this home was a dedicated yoga room. I really wanted to be in the city, but I was ready to move to the burbs so that I could afford this room. After spending a day in the burbs and finding a townhouse that I was ready to put in an offer on, I randomly found this condo. Like, I have no idea how it never came up in my search before this day, but the real estate market was crazy hot. So I immediately texted my realtor. She reached out that same night to the seller's agent, and literally earlier that day, they had received an offer from someone else, but they hadn't given them an answer yet. So they agreed to let me come the next day and look at the condo to see if I wanted to add to, this bidding war, obviously. So I kind of knew that before I even saw the place that it was meant for me. I just had a feeling. So to no surprise, it was even better in person. So I wrote the seller a note expressing how much this condo would mean to me. And sure enough, he accepted my offer. Now, if that wasn't crazy enough, that day I first stepped foot in this home, it was the 11th anniversary of my dad's passing. I'm not shitting you. And he was a Sagittarius, the number 9, remember? 9th house. See, so I completed my yoga certification during my last semester of getting my bachelor's degree in architecture. And ever since, it was always my deeper calling. But because that seemed like an unrealistic fantasy that could never pay my bills, but also because it felt like a vain desire to have, I continually pushed it to the side. That was until January 1st of this year. I just couldn't resist the calling any longer. Now, I'm obviously making more than just yoga videos, so welcome to my 19th video. Thanks for watching. If you couldn't already tell, it truly means everything to me, so thank you. So you might be wondering what happened. There's quite a dramatic shift that took place, going from full-time interior designer to now full-time YouTuber. True, but I'll explain more on that later. And no, I have not won the lottery or made my millions yet. Let's head into the kitchen and we'll talk more about the number 9 and the planet Venus, my chart ruler.